want them home. They should never have been in such situations.
Family weighing in as the Menendez brothers make their first court appearance in decades, a hearing that caused quite the spectacle today. Some onlookers, not even born when the original murder trials unfolded, determined to witness today's proceedings.
I've been researching the case, and it's just something that interests me, and it's for educational purposes, but also informative.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. The Menendez brothers will have to wait until January for a judge to consider their push for resentencing. They're both serving life without parole for murdering their parents in their Beverly Hills home. We begin tonight's coverage of today's court proceedings with Fox's Anna Eliopoulos.
35 years is a long time.
Another delay for the Menendez brothers as they fight for their freedom. A Los Angeles Superior Court judge delayed the resentencing hearing for Eric and Lyle Menendez, saying he needed more time to review new pieces of evidence in the case and give the newly elected LA District Attorney time to catch up as well. The brothers joined the hearing from San Diego via phone, but did not speak. Instead, two family members advocated for their release.
I do want them home. They should never have been in such situations.
It also was quite a moving experience. Terry and Aunt Joan, who are respectively Jose and Kitty's older sisters, both made impassioned pleas with the judge to send the brothers home.
Before the brothers were sentenced to life in prison without parole for the 1989 shotgun killing of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, their defense attorneys argued they had been sexually abused by their father. Prosecutors at the time accused the pair of killing their parents for money. One key piece of new evidence is a letter Eric Menendez wrote to his cousin 8 months before the murders describing his father's sexual abuse. After more than 30 years in prison, attorneys for the brothers are requesting their convictions be vacated and instead sentenced for manslaughter, for which Eric and Lyle could be paroled immediately. The resentencing hearing's new date is in late January. Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
And the incoming Los Angeles County District Attorney says he doesn't yet know where he is going to take this case once he's sworn in. He spoke earlier today about his ongoing review of new evidence.
You know, I have 34 years of criminal justice experience as a prosecutor and a defense counsel. What has always governed how I actually act are the facts and the law and nothing more. So it would be improper for me to tell you one way or the other if I'm leaning based on speculation, based on I've never actually seen the Netflix documentary or docuseries, but if I was relying on just partial evidence, that would be improper for me right now to speculate where I'll ultimately end up. What I can guarantee you is that I will give this case the review that it absolutely deserves.
All right, for more, let's bring in KTVU legal analyst Michael Cardozo to get more perspective on all of the developments that we saw today in this case. Michael, it's good to have you on here. I know we've talked about this case before. Today, the judge, in essence, said, look, he has to push back a decision on resentencing here to give the newly elected district attorney time to review all of this evidence. And just because he has evidence to review himself. Does this delay make sense to you?
It makes perfect sense to me. You've got Gascon, who was the DA in LA, who was not reelected. You've got Hochman coming in as the new DA. He cannot speak officially until he's sworn in. And then you have a judge telling everybody today, I've got 17 banker boxes to go through that was just presented to me. So give me a little time to do that. We will kick it to January 31st of next year.
Okay. Do you think that what we saw today in these proceedings changes anything about the chances that the Menendez brothers will, in fact, be resentenced?
It's not going to affect it all. For those not familiar with courts, this happens all the time, where you go into court and exactly this happens. But you want to hear from the new DA what you're thinking about this. To navigate this case for the judge is going to be interesting because, remember, we've had two trials before. The first trial, where they put in the sexual abuse evidence, ended up hung. The second trial, the judge kept that evidence out and the jury brought back a guilty verdict. So the big question is, were these men, then boys, molested?
Yeah. And you know, it was interesting at today's hearing, the judge did allow some testimony from two of the sisters of Jose and Kitty Menendez. They testified in court today, both of them saying, look, they believe that the Menendez brothers have served enough time here and should ultimately be released. How much do you think that kind of testimony from family members is going to ultimately factor in to a judge's decision?
Well, let me put it this way. In California, we have victims that come in and family members that come into court and give what we call victim impact statements. So our legislators thought that was important when they put that law in. Judges do listen to families, and that has a great effect on judges. You know, should I or shouldn't I do this? Family, how are you feeling about this? I know there's one family member, I think it's the brother, that doesn't, not the brother of Menendez's, but the victims, believes that they were not molested. That's his thinking, and he's saying, don't let them out. They haven't served enough time. It was a vicious, awful murder, so don't let them out. But the other family members, the sisters, are saying, no, they've served 34 years, and we believe they were molested. That's enough time. That will have a great effect on the court.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this case before, and initially when this whole push for resentencing came about, there was sort of talk that the Menendez brothers could be walking out of prison in time to spend it at home for the holidays here. Now things obviously have been really pushed much further down the road. How likely do you think it is ultimately that we see them walk out of prison?
You know, I think there's a great likelihood of that because as a society, and especially in courts, we've come a long way. We've learned through psychiatrists and people in the mental health field that the frontal lobe of the human brain doesn't fully develop till someone's 25 or 26. Now, that frontal lobe affects your executive thinking. The Menendez brothers were 19 and 21 respectively, so they didn't have that full executive thinking. Then you layer on top the fact that they were molested. If you believe that, with that being said, you had the jury that didn't hear that evidence coming back guilty. The first jury that heard that came back hung. So that obviously had an effect. The judge in navigating this case will factor that in, and I think they've got a pretty good chance. I know that DA's office, I worked there, that's where I started my career. I know that office was horribly divided under Gascon. I mean, they were split right down the middle. He was very liberal. A lot of DAs didn't like him. A lot of DAs down there don't think these men should be let out of prison. That's why the new DA and what he thinks is going to be.
He's got to deal with all that now.
Yeah, and that's got to be very important. He's got to unite that office again.
All right, but obviously this decision delayed at least for a while.
It is,
now.
and then it'll land on the governor's desk eventually. You watch.
There you go. We'll keep following it. Michael Cardoza, we appreciate it. Thanks for being here today.
You're welcome.
All right, this is a case that obviously captured the nation's attention during the original criminal trials back in the 1990s. And now with this renewed focus on the Menendez brothers, it was a huge crowd that was on hand for today's hearing, everyone hoping to get inside.
Today for this hearing, I mean, it was a madhouse outside of the courtroom. Eric and Lyle were not even physically in the courthouse. They are in a prison in San Diego. They attempted to video, chat themselves into the hearing. That did not work. They had tech issues. So because of that, they were forced to listen on the telephone, and they never even said a single word. So they were on the line, but were really not a part of the hearing in any way.
There were just 16 seats in the courtroom today that were made available to the public, and they were given away through a lottery. And you can find extensive coverage on the Menendez brothers case up at our website. It's westcoastrap.com. Our online coverage there includes extended clips of today's interview with incoming Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman, who obviously has the decision in front of him here on resentencing. He offers his take on the case as he starts to review all of the new evidence that has come forth. All right, if you're traveling for Thanksgiving, be prepared for the possibility of weather delays. Here is a live look at downtown Denver tonight, where the conditions appear to be calm, but that is not expected to last. Snow is in the forecast as we head toward Thanksgiving. Denver International is a hub for United Airlines and Frontier Airlines. Storms are already delaying flights at airports across the country. Travel experts say it's important to do more than get to the airport early to set yourself up for an easy travel day.
You should expect longer lines, potential delays if things get backed up on the tarmac. So pack your patience. Make sure that you've downloaded your airline's app and signed up for notifications so you're getting real-time updates.
AAA predicts almost 80 million people will travel over their Thanksgiving break. That's up about 2 million compared to last year. 72 million of those travelers are expected to get to holiday destinations by car. Nearly 6 million are expected to fly.
And a live look here over Oakland, California, where a wet one to kick off the holiday week. Have a look at what we can expect here along the west coming up.
All clear. Ready to fire.
Also tonight, readying explosives to prepare for more storms. How first responders hope that this kind of action will help keep people safe on the roads. Also, a bizarre twist in the case of a Hawaii woman who disappeared in Los Angeles. Coming up tonight, what investigators are saying about the discovery of her father's body near LAX. Arizona voters have passed a constitutional amendment guaranteeing abortion access up to fetal viability. Doctors say that's after 21 weeks, although there is no defined time frame. This is, of course, a major win in that battleground state for advocates of the measure who have been seeking to expand access beyond the current 15-week limit.
Abortion is health care. Reproductive rights are human rights. And I'm happy to stand up for both of those things. And now Arizona has the right to abortion enshrined in our state's constitution.
Arizona was one of several states with abortion measures on the ballot this past election. Opponents argue the measure is too far-reaching. We have a sad update tonight on the search for a missing Hawaii woman who disappeared in Los Angeles. Hannah Kobayashi's father, Ryan, was found dead near LAX yesterday. Investigators say he apparently took his own life. Ryan traveled to L.A. to help search for his daughter. Hannah Kobayashi disappeared during a layover at LAX earlier this month. Her family fears that she's been kidnapped or potentially the victim of human trafficking. Now, if you or someone you know is in need of help, the National Mental Health Hotline is available 24 hours a day. Just call 988 for assistance. We turn now to Washington, where thousands of people remained without power tonight after last week's strong storm. As Fox 13's Lauren Donovan shows us, crews are hard at work still, trying to clear debris and get the lights back on.
On our street, there are about 5 or 6 trucks.
Monday, bucket trucks rolled up in numbers. When we were here Friday, power lines were every which way. Trees careened over the road. Most of that has since been chopped up, but as Karen Rudolph from Miramont will tell you, there's still work yet to be done.
It's massive. So we're 6 days in and still no power.
Karen and her family are using the light they've got to haul away as much debris as they can. The county has been providing these dumpsters, but there are concerns local dumps will soon be overwhelmed. Would you believe that with all the debris that came down?
Oh, yes. I mean, every person that lives in Miramont probably has at least 5 loads. You know, and if they don't have a truck, how are they going to move all this stuff?
King County issued an emergency proclamation, making way for bankrolling crews on overtime and removing waste.
And this is a natural disaster right here.
Deputy Chief Doug McDonald with Eastside Fire and Rescue agrees.
Bordering on what we call, 80 miles an hour is a Class 1 hurricane. As far as the damage goes, it's catastrophic.
Doug spent 34 years as a firefighter on the east side and tells me in all that time,
honestly, this is in the top 2 of my career. I really called it a career call for us. Seeing the devastation down in Issaquah, Sammamish, Mercer Island.
He agrees. What you see in Miramont is some of the worst of it. Eastside firefighters were dispatched to that community south of Tiger Mountain early this morning to extinguish a shed on fire. Fighting this one was challenging because access to water is limited and there's a lot of brush.
It sounds like there was a generator operating, but I can't say definitively that was the case.
Doug says in the last 6 days, his colleagues have responded to a staggering 70 calls for service from generator fires and carbon monoxide concerns. Each call ties up 8 to 9 firefighters at a time.
And at times we had multiple fires going on at the same time, so it impacted the region.
We do know that local government is taking action here in King County. 2 council members have proposed legislation that would help ease the financial burden of some of this cleanup. We're talking covering the cost of generator fuel, your stay at the hotel, or getting any of these limbs out of your yard, off your home. Reporting in Miramont, Lauren Donovan, Fox 13 News.
In Utah, transportation workers are preparing for the possibility they may have to use explosives to limit the risk of avalanches.
All clear. Ready to fire.
Crews in Cottonwood Canyons tested their avalanche mitigation system today. This uses explosives to trigger controlled avalanches when the roads are closed. That decreases the possibility of dangerous, spontaneous avalanches once the roads are open. This area got a lot of snow over the past weekend, and more is expected through Wednesday. For more, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Rosemary Orozco, who is tracking the storms that are bringing a lot of snow and a lot of rain as we head toward Thanksgiving. Hi, Rosemary.
Yes, Alex. Hi to you as well. We are looking at soggy weather over the west, continuing on into tomorrow. Here's a look over Seattle, Washington this afternoon. A rainy day and temperatures only 48 degrees in the afternoon. Meanwhile, here's a view of the West Coast satellite and radar. We've got a couple of things going on. We've got the low that is parked right here off the Pacific Northwest, and we have a weak atmospheric river that is continuing to pump that moisture and rain into areas of central and now into Southern California as well. As we get into tomorrow, it will continue to push off to the south and to the east, and eventually we will be drying out, and for most it looks like in time for the holiday. Here's a look at the advisories expected for tomorrow. We'll start west and work our way east where there is a winter storm warning that continues for most of the Sierra Nevada there. You can see on the California side with feet of snow expected and winter travel continuing into early Wednesday morning. The winter weather advisory for areas over Nevada lasting into Wednesday afternoon, and one more stop here in the Denver, Colorado area where the advisory will go until late Wednesday evening. When it comes to rainfall amounts, not expecting a whole lot for tomorrow, but again, it's the high elevation snow that really could cause some trouble for people for travels that are trying to get up over passes and the higher elevations. The West Coast forecast for you into tomorrow morning. We will continue with wet weather from areas of Washington, Oregon, California still covered and pushing off to Nevada as well as Utah and into Colorado. By Tuesday night into Wednesday, things really start to improve, especially for the west, beginning to dry out. And then into Thanksgiving Day, notice Pacific Northwest, we've got California, we have the Intermountain West down into the desert Southwest. Everybody looks dry. So we are starting out the holiday week, a wet one, but that will begin to transition as we get into the days ahead. And not everybody cold and soggy. Take a look at Phoenix this afternoon, 79 degrees and mostly blue skies. Getting into the next 3 days for you here, Phoenix will continue with mild to warm weather and dry conditions. Los Angeles, not too bad. You get past the soggy weather. Temperatures in the upper 60s for Thanksgiving, mid 60s to low 60s for the San Francisco Bay Area. Going to be cool, though, in Seattle, mostly cloudy and 46 for Thanksgiving Day. Alex?
All right, Rosemary, thank you. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, a 15-pound dog goes up against a predator. Tonight, her Southern California neighbors thank her for helping keep everyone safe.
Just went bolting, and then all of a sudden there was a mountain lion in our tree. She's my good girl. I love her.
A dog is getting credit for helping to keep a Southern California neighborhood safe from a mountain lion on the prowl. Fox 11's Haley Winslow had a chance to spend some time with the Whippet Beagle mix that scared a big cat right up a tree.
This is Desi the Wonder Dog, and she clearly sensed the mountain lion. So people were getting ready for school and for work, and all of a sudden she escapes from the house. Clearly the cougar very lost and fearful of little Desi. Hot on the trail, Desi the lapdog still smells his scent.
I really do feel like she saved my life.
In the middle of developed Tustin, a mountain lion is perched in a tree after Desi ran after him. It was crazy that a little 15-pound dog chased it up a tree.
Yeah, I would have thought that the mountain lion would have attacked the dog.
She just went bolting, and then all of a sudden there was a mountain lion in our tree. She's my good girl. I love her.
A good guard dog, an 8-year-old Whippet Beagle mix, spotted the cougar hiding under this truck and took off after him.
Just amazing what those animals can do.
Exciting for kids living in this triplex, getting ready for school.
It's funny how he chased a whole mountain lion into a tree.
My youngest loves kitties, so she loved seeing that cat out there. My oldest, she's 8. She was a little scared. She was like, oh my God, that's a big cat.
Not a cuddly kitty. Suddenly surrounded by Orange County firefighters, police, Fish and Wildlife, and after 7 hours stuck up in this tree, biologists armed with a catch bag were able to safely sedate the estimated 1-year-old cougar, examined, and released him.
The biologists were here to do their job.
Exciting day at the office.
Absolutely, yeah. Not quite sure how it got here. I would venture to guess that this animal is pretty scared, being out of its habitat. Their plan was to actually release it in the Cleveland National Forest.
Away from people.
Way away from people.
It's the next P-22.
Yeah, and hopefully this one, lives a long life out there and, doesn't have anything happen to it for a while.
A good reminder that we coexist with wildlife and to take a moment to appreciate it.
Sometimes we think that, we're so apart from the wild and from nature, but it's literally in our backyard.
At 1 to 2 years old, mountain lions usually venture out on their own, so this one likely trying to establish his own territory just in the wrong neck of the woods. Reporting in Tustin with Desi, I'm Haley Winslow, Fox 11 News.
And finally tonight, Formula One is ready to welcome an American team. On the heels of Saturday's Las Vegas Grand Prix, Formula One executives say a new American team is going to be called Cadillac F1. The team will use Ferrari engines during its first 2 years. General Motors expects to have a Cadillac engine ready for competition, though, by the 2028 season. Approval of this expansion has been in the works for several weeks now. The announcement was held, though, until after this weekend's Las Vegas Grand Prix, all in an effort not to overshadow that event. Max Verstappen, by the way, came in first place in his 4th consecutive championship in Saturday's race on the Las Vegas Strip, and obviously it was a return for the Las Vegas Grand Prix after some of the issues they saw in the first year they did it, but they had a successful race there in Las Vegas as that track winds its way around the Strip, and hundreds of thousands of people on hand to enjoy that race over the weekend, and now an American team coming to F1. All right, a reminder before we go tonight, you can stay up to date on all the stories we're covering online at westcoastwrap.com, and you can stream all of our shows on your smart TV by downloading the Fox Local app. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.